Hey everyone, hope you're doing well today. Let's do the chanting straight away. Before our meditations and then our Dharma talk. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. These remain until Silagate ends, and turn away and die before all sentient. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. Leanne, I hear some voices. Maybe yours, I'm not sure. So if it is, then you need to mute, please. However innumerable the Dharma teachings are, about to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, about to follow it completely. In fact, we'll do that prayer again. However innumerable all sentient beings are, about to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, about to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, about to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, about to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiso. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiso. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiso. So now get yourself comfortable for some meditation practice. Let's release the tension in the body, from the tips of the toes all the way up to your, or to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head. As you concentrate on the certain parts of the body, if you find you have some tension, then release it there and then. If you find it hard to release just with the mind, then utilize the out breath. So take a deep breath in and a long breath out and release on the out breath. Let's take a few moments to do this now. So I imagine you've already released from the lower part of your body, now releasing from the top part of your body. Now releasing from the top of your head. And scan your body once more just to see if there's any leftover tension. And if there is, release it. When you are ready, bring your focus to the tip of your nose initially and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs and then back out your nose again. Breathing in, breathing out. So all you have to do physically is be here, present physically, and also breathe. Breathe in, breathe out. All you have to do mentally is focus on the breath or the feeling of the breath. And when your mind wanders, gets distracted, then replace your mind back onto the breath. If thoughts arise, any mental activity arises, don't cling to it, don't grasp at it, don't try to force it away either, or deny it. But naturally and simply just let it go by replacing your mind back onto the breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by replacing your mind onto your breath more brightly. You may also like to add the extra technique of counting the breaths. If you want to do this, then 1 to 10, don't go past 10. 1 in-breath and 1 out-breath is 1, and so on. But if you get distracted while counting towards 10, then go back to 1 at that time. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. So now you can feel really pleased with yourself for engaging in the practice. And let's fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. Utilize the visualization, visualizing the white light filling your whole being, or white nectar if you prefer. Or if you want to just go with the feeling, that is fine too. Feeling is of utmost importance. Filling yourself with this universal love and kindness. Fill yourself with so much love and kindness that it now radiates outwards, overflows, and radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, family, and friends. And fill them with the universal love and kindness, the white light as well. Radiating outwards from your heart center and entering into their heart centers and filling their whole being. May they be happy, free from suffering, and peaceful. Be peaceful. And now radiate the love and kindness also to strangers, those people you may know a little bit or not at all. Fill them with the universal love and kindness too, coming from your being to theirs, from your heart center, entering into their heart center, and filling their whole being with this universal love and kindness. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now also include those you may regard as enemies. Fill them with the universal love and kindness too. White light leaving your heart center, entering into their heart center, filling their whole being with the universal love and kindness. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now we can extend the loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, starting around our immediate area, to all living beings now. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. May they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. All the sentient beings that live on the land, under the land, in the waters, fly through the air, born from wombs or eggs or moisture, or through transformation. May they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. This loving kindness radiating outwards from your heart center and filling them or entering into them through their heart centers, and filling their whole being with this universal loving kindness. Now out further and further distance-wise throughout your whole state or county, to all of the different types of living beings, whether we know about them or not, whether we have an affinity towards them or an indifference or some sort of fear, some sort of repulsion, all living beings without limit. Now throughout all of the states and counties throughout your country. And other countries throughout the whole world, initially those that you have an affinity towards, also those you're indifferent towards, and to those that you have some sort of negative feelings towards. So your loving kindness pervades throughout all of the countries, throughout the world, and also throughout all of the oceans, to all the living beings, whether you know about them or not. Have your loving kindness pervade down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. And now beyond this planet alone, throughout the whole solar system. Throughout all of the solar systems, throughout the galaxy. Now have your loving kindness pervade throughout the whole universe and beyond, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Understand that you are not separate from all beings and from infinite space. Everything is interrelated, interconnected. So also be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious pure Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And so now I'll continue addressing and answering the questions that came in throughout the last year during the commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation. I'm utilizing, as you know, my book to answer these questions, give you a little bit of variety, different ways of answering questions. In the past, I either answered the questions directly or grouped them into subject matter, so this time a little bit random, a little bit over the place, and maybe give you a little laugh here and there, maybe a really deep teaching here and there, maybe something so simple, maybe repeating what you already know. So it depends on the order of these quotes in the book and, of course, the explanation that is attached to the quote. Okay, so we'll continue today. We're up to number 40 out of 50, so there's 11 to go. This one says, don't be like a fish in Egypt and live in denial. The Nile River. So a little joke. I think I made it up, but sometimes, of course, you may think you made something up, but actually, maybe you heard it somewhere. Maybe you weren't so conscious when when it was being spoken by others sometimes. But I think I made it up. So the actual quote says again, don't be like a fish in Egypt and live in denial, in brackets, the Nile River, LOL, which means laugh out loud. Now, I actually thought that was different when I first started seeing these types of acronyms on the internet. I was very naive to a lot of this stuff. LOL, I thought it related to love or something. So then maybe after a few years of seeing it, somebody said, no, it means laugh out loud. I think it may be my mum, actually. So she's more advanced in the internet and the computer than I am. Maybe I've overtaken her in certain aspects now, but in the years ago, actually, my mum used to type up all of the musicals that I wrote, a lot of my writings early on. She used to actually do the typing for me, and some students as well. I couldn't even turn the computer on until probably about 10 years ago or something. So anyway, explanation. The quote or joke with meaning, don't be like a fish in Egypt and live in denial, the Nile River, was something that just popped out of my mouth while teaching a Dharma class a few years ago at a monthly half-day Buddhist youth retreat. Now, this writing, I think I wrote in probably 2017, and the class, I'm pretty sure, was sometime around 2010 or 11, something like that, okay? The classes were simply entitled Q&A, and we would give each class a name that related to the subject matter at the end of the class. The subject matter was determined by the questions asked by the students. I initiated this little quirk to help enable the students to commit the teachings to memory and to have a laugh too. So there was probably, I'd say, somewhere between 20 and 30 teenagers and young adults. So somewhere between, I think I explained the ages, but somewhere between like 13 and maybe 23 or something like that. And in this class was the abbot of the temple as well, Sri Lankan monk. It was a Sri Lankan temple, Sakimuni Sambuddha Vihara in Berwick, near Melbourne. So he actually wanted the explanation of the joke, but I said, don't worry about it, I'll explain it to you later, because it's take too long to try to sort of translate this. It wouldn't be funny probably, translate it to another language. Anyway, so I initiated this little quirk to help enable the students to commit the teachings to memory and to have a laugh too. Some examples of the class names are Fish in Egypt, to be responsible in our lives and not live in denial. Stuff, discussing everyday suffering and its causes. Extra stuff, related to freeing the mind from worry, anxiety, and the like. Blah, 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 discussing right speech, just to name a few. Anyway, the class mentioned above took place around the time of the end-of-year exams. The age group of the students was probably between 13 and 23 years old. So the students were either attending high school or university. As mentioned, the basic subject matter was to be responsible and not turn our back on our responsibilities as students. To listen, study, and learn and commit to memory what we have learned. To have respect and appreciation for the efforts and knowledge of our parents and teachers, as well as maintaining a positive attitude. Also discussed was the need to always practice the Dharma and how helpful doing so would be leading up to and during the examination process. I'm sorry that this quote or joke with meaning does not make sense if translated directly to other languages other than English, due to it being a play on words. Hopefully this brief explanation could be helpful, clear, and easy to understand for everyone, and for possible translation into other languages. So I'll go back and just dissect it a little bit, okay? So yeah, don't live in denial, be honest to ourselves, be responsible, take responsibility for our physical actions, for our verbal actions, for our mental actions such as thoughts and so on. Be responsible to maintain a wholesome attitude, to only do things that bring benefit, say things that bring benefit. Be responsible to not give in to unwholesomeness. Practice the 4 great efforts again. And maintain a wholesome state of mind. And also don't give in to habitually sort of acting physically and verbally. The habits actually are in your mind, but we could be expressing ourselves physically or verbally in habitual ways that bring harm. So let's relinquish that. Be responsible for that. So yeah, it's kind of like you could say, skillful way of teaching in a certain way. I'm not patting myself on the back there in an egotistical way, but anyway, as a teacher, I used to look for ways, maybe even listen to other teachers to find ways so that I could actually help the student remember. And some of this is through humor, some of it through like parables, just like the Buddha, my teachers as well over time. And so just so that students can actually have an interest, because when our students, I say our students now, when we have an interest, then we're going to pay more attention and want to understand the meaning of the teachings and how to put the teachings into practice and then to actually do it. So that's the reason for this, you could say, skillful method or whatever. I like to give people the chance to have a bit of a laugh. I say that we're the most funniest people that we know. So it's really important to laugh at ourselves, not in a crazy way, but just laugh at ourselves. We have imperfections. Laugh at them. Bring attention to them. Work to uproot them, to purify them. But we also have good qualities, but we don't always act upon these good qualities. Yeah, laugh at ourselves, Just realize that we're actually quite hilarious, and then practice Dharma this way, as well as very seriously, of course. Fish in Egypt, Be responsible, our lives. You don't live in denial. The stuff, I'll go into these other ones. Stuff relates to the First Noble Truth. And then I spoke about the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path during this one. Then extra stuff. And I utilized, I'll be honest, I utilized the little swear word, S-H-I-T, instead of stuff there, to give them a laugh as well. Yes. And I said, don't tell your parents I use that word, you know. But just extra stuff means that we're adding to it. So we've already caused difficulties for ourselves. Don't create extra difficulties on top of it. You know, and stop making ourselves anxious by thinking and planning for the future. Live in the moment. Let go of any worries because we're dwelling on the past. Instead, live in this present moment. Be in this present moment, and etc. And then blah 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 was the class name, or the name we gave to the class when we spoke about the right speech and to not lie, etc., etc. Okay. Anyway, this took place around the time of exams. So obviously they'd learned all year. I wanted to try to help them to be able to remember what it is they learned. Because if they have the calm mind by practicing Dharma, practicing meditation, if they had the calm mind, then all of this information they learned would come to the fore when they do the exam. To be calm, to be really clear and not stressed, allows them to then go through the process of the examination, you know, step at a time, breath at a time, rather than worrying that they're not going to get it right. So we often do that, don't we? Now, I don't give you exams. You're not going for a job interview with me, so you don't have to be stressed at all, isn't it? But these other times in your life that when you were young, for instance, related to this, or even as we get older, certain times maybe we get anxious because of habits. Now, time to learn to undo those knots, undo those habits, take responsibility to do that, not live in denial, okay, but also not give in to the habitual tendencies, especially those that are harmful or meaningless as well. Okay, so yeah, so basically, as we practice the Dharma, the three wisdom tools again, you hear the Dharma, pay attention, be responsible, pay attention, clear mind. Don't add things to it. Don't add opinions to it. Don't block it. You know, just hear it or study it, read it, and then later contemplate. Don't contemplate while you're reading. Just read, then remember, and then you can contemplate at the right time, you know, later on, to get some understanding. Use our ability to investigate and analyze a subject, a thing, our mind, our so-called self, things like this. Once we come to a good understanding, then meditate to habituate the mind with this understanding. Okay, so that's kind of what I mean by this. To be responsible, not turn our back on our responsibilities as students, Dharma students in this sense, to listen, study, learn, and commit to memory that which we have learnt, to have respect also and appreciation for the efforts and the knowledge of our parents, our teachers, you know, everybody we've learned from. And even if you think about all sentient beings, even those that behave badly, you get to learn how not to behave. And also you get the opportunity to try to help them and so on, okay? As well as maintaining a positive attitude. That's very important. Also discussed was the need to always practice the Dharma and how helpful doing so would be leading up to and during the examination process. And this is to do with everything, actually. Practice the Dharma, keep an upright mind, keep a clear mind in all of your activities. We spoke about this a lot. That'll do, actually. So the next one is quote number 41, with, of course, following up the explanation number 41. And if you do have the book, it's on page 110. Don't be like a frog in a well, thinking that the well is the whole universe, and that outside of the well does not exist. In a sense, you could say this is an embellishment of Buddha's teaching about the frog in the well, okay? Same meaning, using some different examples or different explanations as well. The explanation says, to live a contented life, we must develop and maintain an open mind. For if we are open-minded, we will experience life with more clarity and understanding. We will allow ourselves the opportunity to be happier and be able to deal with life's changes and difficulties more calmly, as well as being able to find solutions to our problems with less worry and anxiety. When our mind is not open, we cut ourselves off from experiencing life to the fullest. It is not beneficial to keep a closed mind, thinking that our way is the only way, or that this is just the way we are. The more our mind is closed, the more likely we are to drag ourselves down and others around us down too. And the less likely we are to experience contentment and peace, and to develop true compassion and understanding. So do your best to develop and maintain an open mind and avoid being closed-minded and living like a frog in a well. So if you think about the frog, he's down in the well, doesn't know anything outside of the well, nothing at all, because his whole thing is down there. He has his food down there. It has its water down there, and all of the other activities gets done in the well. A lot of people are like this, you know, think about it. We go around thinking that our way is the best way, our way is the only way, and this is just the way we are, we can't change, we don't want to change, and living blindly, related to the previous teaching on living in denial, you know, but we want to open our mind. And open our mind, I don't just mean, oh, open mind, don't have any thoughts. Actually, open the mind to compassion, to true understanding, true wisdom. Open the mind to learning. Open the mind to understanding, as just mentioned. Okay, so if you have to, like, you know, people that behave like the frog in the well, and I'm sure we all have at some stages in our life and other lives, people that are like that, to develop this compassion, we should help them to be free from being like this frog in a well. Show them good things. Show them the good results of acting upon good qualities, of virtuous qualities, and then the goodness that comes from, and the benefit that comes from acting upon this goodness and virtuousness. So that they can get themselves out of their rut, get themselves out of this well, and experience all of the things around them, okay? So anyway, let me dissect it. So don't be like a frog in a well, thinking that the well is the whole universe and that outside of the well does not exist. This also is a lack of compassion I'm talking about as well. So, you know, thinking that this is just your life, caring only for yourself, whereas all of the other living beings, you know, you maybe don't even think about most of them. Okay, so don't wish for them to be happy. Don't wish for them to be free from suffering. But we need to change our ways, just as we did with the training in the 8th verse of thought transformation, to transform the mind to be compassionate, transform the mind to be wise, to be more open, calm, peaceful, you know. So to live a contented life, we must develop and maintain an open mind. Otherwise, there's going to be a lack of contentment. You know, contentment now, we can actually be content, reasonably happy, even within suffering, if we understand the nature of it. Even if we're experiencing the difficulties, maybe physical pain, things like that. But we actually can be content to know the First Noble Truth, that all existence has the nature of suffering, that we always experience suffering throughout our existence in samsara, or cyclic existence. And the second noble truth, that we cause this suffering. If we know this, then we can be more contented. Also, know that we can free ourselves from this cycle. Isn't that wonderful? Something so positive, isn't it? I used to say years ago, and I say it again now, wouldn't it be a bummer if the Buddha stopped at the first two and said, oh, don't worry about the third one, and I'm not going to show you the path on how to do it. Just, there is suffering and you caused it. The cause of suffering is desire based on ignorance. If you just left it there, that would be a bummer. But how positive. Third noble truth, nirvana, or nirodha, cessation from suffering. And how to do it? Eightfold Path and all of the other related Dharma teachings. So good. So we can actually be content by practicing like this, knowing this, okay? Maintain an open mind, for if we are open-minded, we will experience life with more clarity and understanding, because we get to perceive things around us. We also get to perceive that all beings go through the similar things to us. All beings are not always happy. All beings go through difficulties, and we can develop compassion for them or towards them. The compassion, of course, is in our own mind, based on the wisdom too. We allow ourselves the opportunity to be happier and be able to deal with life's changes and difficulties more calmly, as well as being able to find solutions to our problems, if at all possible, of course, at that time, with less worry and anxiety. There's those two words again: worry, dwelling on the past. Anxiety arises if we're always planning for the future with hopes and fears. When our mind is not open, we cut ourselves off from experiencing life to the fullest. So this is another effect. It is not beneficial to keep a closed mind, thinking that our way is the only way and that this is just the way we are. Once again, stubbornness, If you're going to be stubborn in goodness, Don't give in to the unwholesome mind state or the unwholesome actions or whatever. So if you're going to be stubborn in goodness, not just hanging on to old habits and things like that. Okay. Don't drag yourself down. Don't drag others down around you, and vice versa. You can sort of play off each other if there's a lot of negativity around. So the less likely we are to experience contentment and peace. So let's experience contentment and peace. Let's develop this true compassion and understanding. Okay, and don't live like a frog in a well. Important stuff. We're under a minute just now, so we'll leave it there and pick it up next week. I hope you have a good week ahead. I hope you've enjoyed the class today, and I've learned some things for you to mentally chew on, but also some things to actually put into practice here and now. I'm sure that you understood and understand a lot of these teachings already. Sometimes maybe just a little reminder every week. Maybe you are so good already, maybe you need to remind me. Okay, so I rejoice in your goodness, your meritorious goodness as always. Study the Dharma,